Hi, I'm Adam Mackintosh, and I'm here today on behalf of Music Over Miles to give you a brief tutorial about how to hold your guitar pick. So, we're going to talk about how to hold your pick, and ultimately, there's one thing to remember that's really important, and that is that how you hold your pick and how you come to understand how holding your pick can change your sound, make it easier for you to play, make it easier for you to play specific styles, is ultimately up to you. All right, so you're going to decide how you hold your pick ultimately. What I'm going to talk about is the most traditional way to hold a pick, and that is in every book or image that you see. Almost always, you'll have people telling you to hold your pick this way right here. And that is with the largest amount of plastic that you can poke out of the guitar pick pointed at the strings, right? And that's great for strumming. If you're going to play full chords, that'll go real far. As you start to get into single string playing, where you're trying to teach your hand, your right hand at least, to communicate with your left hand and do the same thing at the same time. For example, if I just play this string and I go up from the open string 0, which is an E, up to the 4th fret, what you'll notice is that when you do that with this big hunk of plastic here, and you're cross-picking, which is going back and forth across the string, you have to pick that piece of plastic up every time to go back and forth over the string. And it's a little bit farther away from your thumb than I like it to be, at least. You may be fine with this. But a way that I've found to get around this, to make it far easier for me to use this same pick to play a bunch of different styles and to achieve different speeds, is to turn it on its side. And so once you turn it on its side, you get this smaller piece of plastic. Right? It's much smaller here. And when you point that at the guitar strings, you're dealing with a lot less to pick up and put down every time that you pick the string. So now we're only dealing with that much plastic, and it's actually a little bit firmer because this one is kind of giving a little bit every time I pick the string. So in that firmness, what it allows me to do is roll over the string a little bit easier. Now this is the method that I've discovered is most helpful to me. If I'm open strumming, I play like this. You can also open strum with the side of the pick like I talked about. Sounds great. But you can also discover your own way or utilize this trick that I'm showing you, and that's to use the top corner of the pick, because as you get into the technique called cross-picking that I was mentioning earlier, and you start cross-picking your strings, going back and forth like this, what this small amount of plastic will give you the ability to do is to go more quickly across the string as you build up your speed without as much plastic or interference from the pick itself, sort of allowing you to play a lot more quickly. Although that's not the goal, if you do need to play something quickly, it's much easier. And the other really cool thing about using this upper corner of your pick is that at first, when you start, it's really confusing from one hand to the next. Like I said, they're trying to communicate with each other and do the same thing at the same time. So when I change from this string to this string, I want to know for certain from this hand that I've done so. And that'll at least be able to tell my other hand that I've changed strings. And if I'm trying to play a different string or a different fret up here, I'll pick the right one. Okay. So when you're using this method, try to imagine that this pick is magnetic. We've got a metal string here. You're imagining this is magnetic, which means that once you pick the string, it doesn't go very far past that. It doesn't even go over to the next string. It just goes right there and sticks to the top of it, or sticks to the bottom of it, right? So doesn't go far. What this does is it spatially orients your right hand to know I am playing the big E or the 6th string on the guitar, and when you change, you are playing the 5th string or the 8th string on the guitar, and this hand can be much more certain about it, because when you start out, if you start out with this great big pick, and you're trying to pick these strings, what will happen is you'll play all the way across to the next string, and then you'll start picking this one, and if you're not looking, or you're looking only at your left hand, you'll miss out and think that you're picking this string, but really you've switched to that one. I see this a lot with people who are starting out. So the best thing to do in everything that I've experienced is to take the pick, turn it to the top corner, stick to this string like you're hugging it. Like you're only going around that one string. It's magnetic, it's stuck there. However you need to imagine that. And then as you change strings, you'll know. I'm on the 4th string, I know it. Because my pick is stuck to the 4th string. Then when I change, I will have had to go all the way over here to the next string. So it's pretty obvious for my right hand, from a spatial orientation standpoint, where it went and that it changed strings. I can let my left hand know. So that later on, and ultimately what you're shooting for, is being able to play more elaborate things. And that all comes from being able, or utilizing this top corner of the pick. Now, I know you may have noticed that I have a rather large thumbnail, right? This thumbnail that you've been noticing is great for a number of things. One, I can point it right at the guitar when I do drop my pick, which happens still, and use it in any number of ways while I'm waiting for the song to end, get to the next tune. I can strum with it. Now, I don't strum with this very often. It's just sort of a backup. I utilize it more for fingerstyle picking, which I'll talk about more later. To keep that low E running and be able to do different things with the other fingers on my left hand. We'll get into that later on, but this is great for dropping your pick. Wes Montgomery used his thumbnail exclusively, pointed almost straight at the strings. Tremendous jazz player. And Richie Havens, another great guitar player, used his thumbnail almost exclusively to strum. So if you look these two people, Wes Montgomery or Richie Havens, up, you'll see how they've used their thumbnail to strum the guitar. So this is how to hold your pick. You should have an idea of where to start, but ultimately where you end is the manner in which you choose ultimately to hold your pick. And that may be completely upside down, or it might be a smaller pick, or a thinner pick, or a bigger pick. I don't know what you're going to come up with, but that's part of the exciting part of all these little details that make up good guitar playing, good practice, and solid knowledge of all aspects of what it is you're doing with your instrument, your right hand, your left hand, at all times. All right.